But you know when someone says, oh, you should watch this, but it doesn't get good until season 2, and you're like, I can't be bothered.
When I watched that, it made me just think, I need to be better, I can't do this.
Hello and welcome to The Best Ever, where pop culture fans come to fight. I'm Morgan Jeffrey, joined as ever by a panel of guests. Each of them has come armed with an opinion, and their job is to convince me that their pick, and only theirs, deserves the title of The Best Ever. This episode, strap in for a rollercoaster ride as we debate the best ever TV thriller. Joining me on the panel are Harry and Jack Williams, writer-creators of The Tourist and Boat Story, and Laura Rutowski, junior commissioning editor at Radio Times magazine. Now, Harry, Jack, you've written some of the best, most memorable TV thrillers in recent memory. To you, what are the essential ingredients of a great TV thriller?
I suppose great writing. Something that's gripping, isn't it? Something that just pulls you back in and you can't get enough of and you just can't wait to see the next thing. I think that's something which has that pull, isn't it? For me, anyway.
Yeah, and I think allied to that, tension is the biggest thing in any thriller. It's such a broad genre and it can be, surprising, exciting, whatever. But I think that anything that brings tension to the audience and suspense, that and those that string it out and elicit that the best feel like they're the best examples of a thriller.
And Laura, it's your job to watch television.
Yeah.
You'll have seen some of the very best TV thrillers. How difficult was it to pick out just one choice as the best ever TV thriller?
Yeah, really difficult actually. I mean, there's so many things to consider. I think the hardest thing is what makes a thriller, because you have action thrillers, horror thrillers, crime thrillers. So yeah, I think it was hard of being is this a drama? Is this a thriller? But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my end choice. Yeah.
Fighting talk.
Well, you're not just fighting it out for kudos as well. You're also, the winner will get their hands on our coveted best ever trophy. If either Harry or Jack win, I guess the loser can visit the trophy on weekends. I don't know. You can work out some sort of arrangement between you.
We can sort that out.
Yeah.
We can arrange that.
Potentially.
I'll let you touch it.
Potentially.
It's rigged. It's rigged already. I have a brothers alliance.
No, we're not going to have any, So, Harry, in your opinion, let's get into it. What is the best ever TV thriller?
For me, the best ever TV thriller is Breaking Bad. Obviously. I think pretty universally accepted that this is the case, I would say.
So you're done. You guys can just...
Boom.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, look at
Harry,
it. The best writing I've ever seen on television, arguably, I would say. It has everything. It has all the tension. It's amazingly directed and so uniquely directed. All the visuals are so incredible. The performances are just sublime, and all the characters so well rounded. Hank and the villains of Gus and Mike and all these iconic. I mean, everything about the show is iconic. The locations, the characters. The fact that it has all these amazing action set pieces, and yet it still manages to be really funny. It does everything with such ease and never forces it down your throat. It's just very well constructed. All the plot points, they creep up on you and they build and they're coming, but it's just so satisfying seeing them all come together. And it was one of those shows that just has you, I can't wait till tomorrow. There are very few shows that I can't wait till tomorrow to see this next episode of this thing. I don't think there are many shows that have done that. For me, anyway.
Well, I'm convinced.
You're done. Just
this does that.
Yeah.
I mean, that Ozymandias, that pre-penultimate episode, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was just. I mean, I think it's the only show on IMDb with 100% or whatever, and rightly so, because it's just from beginning to end, you can't really move.
Can't breathe.
You can't breathe. It's so good, and there's so many reveals, and they're all so satisfying. And the end was perfect, and every episode was perfect, bar one for me. But
I also did like that end. The finale came from something Vince Gilligan wrote, having no idea how to end, which I do admire. That whole thing of him opening the boot and taking out the guns.
Yeah.
He admitted freely he wrote it and thought it was a cool image, and then was having sleepless nights because he had no idea what it meant or why
Where to
he
go
was
next.
there. And that's something we do when we write a lot. And just
Yeah.
go, that's cool, let's pay it off later. But he said he was just constantly going, can I take it back? Can I pretend it was a dream? But then, as you say, it's so satisfying when you see how it ended up there in that finale.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned a lot of ingredients that I think people would more readily associate with a great thriller, like tension, great characters, and propulsive storytelling. You mentioned humour.
Yeah.
And like an offbeat humour is something that definitely the two of you insert a lot into your series. Do you think humour is an important part of a TV thriller?
I think it is, because life is humorous, and and you want that from a thriller. When you have someone say something that maybe they shouldn't say at the most opportune moment, it's much funnier as a result. And people do say weird shit, in weird moments. You know what I mean? Like, to diffuse it, and that's an honest thing, isn't it? I think when the material's really, really dark and serious, you don't make any jokes, and maybe that's sometimes right. Like when we did The Missing, we weren't going to crack out the gags.
Yeah. No,
it's about a
missing
paedophile.
Children, not not a big old fest.
But in a show like this, yeah, you need it. It's all part of the bigger picture, and builds that world.
I think you're right in that Breaking Bad now is very much considered, a pinnacle of TV drama. But it was a slow burn. It was something that kind of gradually developed an audience. Do you remember the first time, any of you, that you watched Breaking Bad and how you discovered Breaking Bad?
Well, I rewatched it not too long ago. I started rewatching it, and I remember I was watching it and I thought, this is really slow, actually. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously great, but when someone says, oh, you should watch this, but it doesn't get good until season 2, and you're like, I can't be bothered with that. I don't really want to wait till season 2. But yeah, I was surprised rewatching it how slow I found it. I don't know if you guys found that.
I don't know. I found the opposite. I found that rewatching the pilot, it's a lot happens. I mean, you start with that image of in the middle of the desert and the trousers fly up in the air and the van drives over it, and he's there in a gas mark in his pants. And then there's a good 25 minutes where it's him and his life as a chemistry teacher. But then, he's very quickly meeting up with Jess. He's very quickly going on the ride along with Hank and having the idea. Actually, it's so good at lulling you into a sense that nothing much is happening, and actually a lot kind of is. I know there are those episodes, where they're treading water a little bit or taking their time, but I was amazed by how much happened in the pilot when I rewatched it. I think I came to it after season 3 when everyone did, because it was, 3, that's when they were on the cover of Rolling Stone, and suddenly everyone, and they won all the Emmys, and they go, oh, maybe we should watch it. And but till then it was only on air because critics liked it.
Yeah.
It kept winning awards. No one watched it at all.
Yeah.
And then I went,
And was nearly cancelled, wasn't it, after the third
many times.
season?
The ratings were very modest.
Yeah, you're right there about waiting for that next episode. And yeah, 'cause I remember I discovered it again later, probably about the same time. And I was experiencing it through a DVD rental service which no longer exists.
Oh yeah.
So I would have to wait for that disc to sort of hit my doormat, and you would get I think it was something like 4 episodes on it. So I would consume those 4 episodes and then have to wait a week, 2 weeks until I found out what happened next. But it was actually a brilliant way to.
But then you have to return the
experience
disc, and that's
I know.
such
Yeah,
a
well,
difficult. I never
that's why
returned
that
the
business
disc.
model
I
Oh.
actually came to it on Netflix, on the streamer, really, really late, because when something's really overhyped and you sort of put it off.
You don't want it because you might.
You think that's not going to be as good as everyone says, but then it was, and I thought, okay, this is
It's
great.
annoying when that happens though. You're like, it is really good.
You want to be that person that's it wasn't that.
You want to have your own opinion. You go, turns out everyone else is right. I'll disagree with it. It's very annoying.
How do you feel as writers when you watch something else that someone else has written and it's brilliant? Do you think, oh, this is amazing, or is there a bit of you that thinks,
When I watched that, it made me just think, I need to be better. I can't do this. But it made the next day writing it sort of helped, because I was like, oh, you're aspiring to something. You're like, if I could be nearly as good as that, I'd be so happy.
If I watched that or The Leftovers or Severance or any our favourite shows, I used to think it would annoy me, but actually when they're that good, you just go, that's really good.
Yeah.
How he said, you just go, if it can be like this, I can try and be more like this. And you can't even be jealous, because you're kind of just impressed, and you go, if ours is half as good as that, we'll be happy, really.
Yeah. What is your favourite Breaking Bad moment or scene or episode if you had to pick a standout?
I mean, the say my name thing, when it's just like...
There's a reason it's become a meme.
It's become, it's just so iconic, isn't it? But I remember watching it being like, I'm F! It really, there are so many moments like that in the
I am
show.
the danger.
Yeah, exactly. I am the storm.
one who
whatever.
dies.
Like that kind of thing, you're like, man, I mean, just what I'd kill for one of those, you know, in one of our shows. They're so good.
And all from the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. Like, no one could have seen that coming, right?
And there's something about that, like, he's not as familiar. It's a newer thing that allowed you to get into that story more, maybe. If it had been a more familiar face, maybe it would have been different. I don't know.
And maybe you wouldn't have had the sympathy with him if he had been known for playing those darker characters or, more Machiavellian characters. It wouldn't have worked. Okay, so Breaking Bad, I feel like that's a strong early pick.
Very strong.
Jack, are you willing to concede at this point, or are you coming out swinging with your own
I'm
choice?
swinging and building on.
Oh,
I told you it's right.
So in your opinion, what is the best ever TV thriller?
I'm going to go with Better Call Saul.
Okay, so very much from the same
stable.
Yeah.
Can't believe this.
Yeah, but different.
Yeah.
And very different in lots of ways. Obviously, but I think by the time you get to season 5 or 6 of Better Call Saul, there's a lot in common. It's in the Breaking Bad universe.
Yeah.
There's similar time. But what I think is really interesting about the first 3 seasons is actually it takes everything that Breaking Bad did amazingly and doubled down, because Breaking Bad had, I think, a lot of story. Like, the reason, you're waiting for the next disc to arrive is there was always something unbelievable happening. You didn't know where it's going to turn out. Better Call Saul takes that and then has a lot less happen, which I think is genius.
Well, going back to what you said, I started Better Call Saul, and I did find it slow to begin with. I think probably because if I'd just come to it cold, it would have been fine. But you're coming off of where Breaking Bad left it, which was very much at this kind of dramatic, breakneck, and then it's Saul very slowly establishing his law firm, and it was very different. It took me a while to kind of.
It is, and that's what's so brilliant, because in Breaking Bad you're always going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next? I have no idea.
Yeah.
In Better Call Saul, you know what happens. You know he has to turn into the guy we've seen as a much more two-dimensional character in Breaking Bad. In this, you're going, I don't know how he gets there, and the very fact that you're waiting for that to happen is the reason they slow it down so much, and you're constantly waiting for that shoe to drop. And he's not even changing his name till season 3. Yeah. Every little moment, it's like even him driving out the parking lot in episode 1 in the pilot takes him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
In a wide shot. And again, that's what I mean about tension with Better Call Saul, because it's what's genius about it is it takes. I mean, Breaking Bad does amazing things. There's a drug deal, you're selling meth, there's people shooting at you, and they do it brilliantly. But to wring tension out of a guy who feels like a bit of a loser, and in the shadow of his older brother who's a bit of a snob, is really hard to do. But to get as much tension, what I like is it takes it back to basics. There's a sort of thing in sort of 90s TV when we were sort of growing up and watching it. When you're watching 24 or that kind of stuff, it's fun, but it's always one-upmanship. Like, you can't, the world has to be saved again and again and again until until the whole world is going to be destroyed by a nuclear bomb. Yeah. You kind of can't, there's nowhere lower than that. The stakes are always so high.
You can only up the ante so high.
You can only up, and what Better Call Saul does is strip it right back, and the stakes are very small and very personal, and it's finding huge amounts of tension and complexity in the most small, real things, and as a result, you're still as on the end of your seat going, is he going to be okay getting his brother this money? Is he going to get that case of these, criminal couple you see in season 1? And, even the way they withhold any of the Breaking Bad stuff from Better Call Saul, that's such a big legacy. A lot of people watch that show, and then deliberately they're going, okay, you get one minor character in episode 1, which is a bit of a sort of red herring.
It has been kind of the hot take of late, some might even say the hipsters' take, to say that Better Call Saul is actually better than Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad has been so widely kind of applauded. And I mean, are you buying this? Is Better Call Saul the superior show?
No, because it's more boring. We've all established that.
Wow. Yeah, it's not just a prequel, though.
Such a good character, though.
No.
Like, to pick Saul as the character, I think was great.
Yes.
He's wonderful.
And again, it's just that keeping all the tension small and low stakes. And there's that episode in sort of season 3 where season 6 actually, he's been recognised in his new life as Gene. And he goes to the taxi driver who recognised him and sort of coaches him through a heist, which is robbing a shopping mall. And he coaches the route and how many items he can take. And really, all he then does is, the Saul character goes and distracts the security guard by giving him donuts and talking about himself. And it's brilliant, because it's just, you get so much tension from a guy trying to persuade a guy not to look around and look at the screen behind him. Brilliant.
As writers who have spun off a character from a successful show, what makes a character, who originally a secondary character, the right choice to lead their own show, kind of as a TV critic and as a writer? We'll start with you, Laura.
Yeah, I think I guess they have to have like a big following already, because I think I read that in Breaking Bad, Jesse was going to be like written out pretty early on.
Yeah,
and
they were
then
going to kill him. I think
They're
in
gonna
and they
season
kill
one.
him, but
Yeah.
then people loved him so much that
Yeah.
they kept him in. I guess he got El Camino a little bit,
Yeah.
so you have that.
Yeah, he
as
did- he
well.
does
So
get his
he
own
does
character,
get
yeah.
his own thing, and he's a great character too. I think Saul is just very like relatable and like I don't know. I think that Bob Odenkirk plays him so well.
Yeah.
That yeah, they just have to have like the right. You want to kind of know how on earth did he become this kind of sketchy lawyer,
Yeah.
you know, and and then when you see all that and you see his relationship with Kim and just all these things, you just think, oh, this is actually a really interesting.
And Bob Odenkirk, obviously a great actor, and as you say,
Yeah.
Saul is slightly more two-dimensional in Breaking Bad, but gets to play so much more and dive so much deeper in Better Call Saul.
I don't think it worked if you had more dimensions, because you sort of feel you've seen all the facets of the character. What's great is you like him, but then the job they have is to dimensionize him and make him interesting and round him out. And a more fully fledged character, you're taking him out the world they exist in. It feels a bit more like an exercise. A character you like, but you don't really know that well. There's a lot to discover about them. That feels really interesting, I think.
I think the definition of TV thriller is something we need to pin down. Breaking Bad, I would consider to be a thriller. Better Call Saul, a brilliant show. Does it qualify as a what's the definition? You've broken the format.
It's got to be thrilling. It's got to be thrilling, and I think I agree. It encompasses a range of things, and I think but sometimes I think it's court legal dramas can be thrillers. There's a whole episode in season 3 where he faces off against his brother. And the whole thing is, spoiler alert, it's not really, it was on a long time ago, but that he, his brother thinks he's allergic to electricity and they slip a phone battery into his pocket. He had no idea the whole time, which we don't find out to the end. But again, the tension of, there are basic thriller principles in place. Is our main character, Jimmy at that point, going to go to prison? Is he going to resolve this legal case? And then later on, there's drug deals, there's life in danger. It has so many of the elements of it, but I think it plays with the format so much that sometimes you do wonder what it is you're watching, because it twists it and it changes your expectations. But I think it's definitely a thriller.
Laura, we've heard what Harry and Jack have to say, but do you have something up your sleeve that's going to blow the competition away and grab you our coveted best ever trophy?
I mean, the fact that they have taken Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I mean, I would have picked Breaking Bad myself.
So are you conceding, or
No,
is this?
no, not at all. So then I kind of thought, well, I want to kind of represent a good British series.
Sure.
So I've chosen Sherlock, which again, I didn't know if I could classify as a thriller, but
Detective thriller?
it is thrilling,
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
There's Jeopardy.
Yeah, a lot of Jeopardy, a lot of moments that make you think, like leave you on a cliffhanger, I think, because each episode is like a mini film. And I think now when we look at Sherlock at the time when it was released, it was so like revolutionary in so many ways. Like the way that they modernized Sherlock, the way even that the texts, appeared on screen. Like we do that now so much. I mean, and they weren't like the first to do it, but the way they did it of like, you don't see the phone, you just see the little pop-up message. Like that at the time, I remember watching that and thinking, that is so cool. Like that is kind of like modern life. And just the deduction scenes, that Sherlock does. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are incredible in it. All those deduction scenes where like his dialogue is just so whip smart and so fast. It was kind of like nothing else that was on TV, I think. And there were just so many moments that people were talking about, and like I guess the scene where you think Sherlock's died, and then I think you had to wait 2 years for the next season of that, which
for that
is a bit
DVD to
crazy.
pop onto
Yeah.
your doormat.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, again, that one, when I first heard the pitch for Sherlock, I didn't have particularly high hopes or expectations, because I was like, Sherlock Holmes, well, just because it's Sherlock Holmes in the modern day is not what we love about Sherlock Holmes, the period and, the smog and all kind of all that whole era. And then it's Watson's played by Tim from The Office, and Sherlock's played by some guy with a funny name who I've never heard of. And it's like, is this good? And then, of course, like, how wrong was I? Of course.
Yeah.
But, do you remember the first time you watched it and what your reaction was when you watched that first episode?
Yeah, I think it was just so clever. I mean, because my dad is like a big Sherlock Holmes fan, so I sort of would watch like Jeremy Brett versions, and Jeremy Brett is great. And I think I watched it and I just thought, oh wow, like like I guess it felt like something new and something fresh, because I guess the Sherlock stories a lot of us know, but the writing from Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, it's very clever and it's very smart. And I love those kind of stories where you're kind of trying to think along with the detective, but it's just too clever. You're like, oh, I would never deduce that myself.
Yeah.
So, but then when he does it, it looks really easy. And just even having Martin Freeman or like Dr. Watson, he's like a war vet from Afghanistan. Just like everything being modernized was so interesting. And then even like after that, you had Elementary, where you had like a female Joan Watson, female Moriarty, and stuff like that. So I feel like it paved the way to make Sherlock like very interesting again.
Yeah. What is if you had to pick one, because so many, as we said, so many great moments, so many great twists, so many great scenes. If you had to pick one standout moment from across those series of Sherlock, which would it be? Your favorite moment?
I think it's probably quite an obvious one, but I love when Sherlock is like, he meets Irene Adler, and then the whole time, she kind of thinks she has the one up on him.
Yeah.
She's so smart, and then
is this the scene where he's naked in the bedsheet? That scene specifically, or?
Oh no, not that
scene.
No. I was gonna say I'm getting to the scene. Not that bit.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, Sherlock's kind of like fallen for her and all this. And then at the end, you think he's been beaten, and you just think, oh, she's beaten him. And then he goes to her phone, and the password is, I am Sherlocked.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like it's just such a good moment. And
Yeah.
she's like sort of devastated. And he's like, you kind of think he's into her, and then he's just like, it's all biology, it's all chemistry.
Yeah.
Like your pupil is like dilated,
Yeah.
and your pulse was racing. Like I don't have any sort of actual feelings for you, but it's a bit up in the air. But that's, I think, a really great episode.
I have to say, we're spoiling so many twists from so many great TV
I know.
thrillers.
If you haven't seen it by now.
If you haven't seen Sherlock or Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, it's entirely on you. I'm sorry. Well, Radio Times audience has also been having their say on this topic. Robert on Facebook nominated Line of Duty as the best ever TV thriller. Sarah voted for The Fall, another great show. Mark threw it all the way back to Edge of Darkness, which another sort of an all-time classic. And there were a few votes for a show called The Missing, but I can't say I'm familiar with that one.
I hear that's great.
Yeah, it's okay.
Nothing much happened.
Yeah. obviously a great show. But the time has come for the most thrilling part of this episode. We get to find out who has won the best ever trophy. That Harry, you argued that Breaking Bad was the best ever TV thriller. Jack, you pushed for the spin-off, Better Call Saul, to come out on top, and Laura, you were backing Sherlock as your favourite.
On the side, in the corner, yeah. Very yeah.
I feel they've ganged up on you.
I
feel like it's a little unfair.
Sorry.
It's a little unfair. So who is today's winner and the recipient of the best ever trophy? I feel like we've talked a lot about what makes a thriller. We've talked about kind of that that propulsive storytelling, that tension, the incredible performances, wanting to find out what happens next, wanting that DVD to land on your doormat. So I think the winner of the best ever TV thriller has to be Breaking Bad.
Fair.
So congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. It feels like the right man won. And I'm pretty pleased with that.
Yes, I do think I was robbed slightly, although going up against Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is really, really hard. So maybe we could say Breaking Bad is the American best thriller, and we could say Sherlock is the best British thriller.
I was robbed. It's a fix-up. I'm going to make a formal complaint about this absolute farce of a show.
Thank you for joining us for the best ever. What did you make of our verdict? And what do you think is the best ever TV thriller? Let us know on X @Radio Times. We'll be bringing you new episodes of the Best Ever weekly, so be sure to head to radiotimes.com/the best ever for all the latest news and exclusive content from each new episode. If you're listening to the podcast version, you can also subscribe and review the Best Ever on your podcast outlet of choice. That's all for now, but join us again soon for more Best Ever.